You check your phone, no reply, and something in your chest quietly drops. Stop right there, because that half second is the most expensive habit of your entire life. That little sink isn't about the message. It's proof that someone out there is holding a lever inside you, and they don't even know they have it. They can lift your whole day or crush it without lifting a finger, just by how they respond to you, or don't. And you handed them that power for free. Carl Jung spent his life studying why human beings do this, why we hand the keys to our own peace to people who never asked for them, and then call it love. But he found something else too, the exact day it ends, the day you stop needing anyone. And here's the part nobody expects. It doesn't turn you cold. It's the opposite, because the moment you stop needing people is the moment they start needing you. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why, and you'll feel that lever loosen for the first time. Let's begin. Let's name what actually happened with that phone, because it happens to you 100 times a day in 100 disguises. Someone's approval, or the lack of it, changed how you feel. And that is the entire game of human weakness in one move. Here's the mechanism, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The moment you need something from a person, their approval, their attention, their reassurance, their love, you have handed them a remote control to your inner state. Now they decide, not you. When they give it, you feel lifted. When they withhold it, you drop. And notice, they don't even have to be cruel. They can be completely neutral, just busy, just quiet. And you'll fill that silence with dread, because your peace was never in your hands to begin with. It was in theirs. Think about how absurd this is when you say it out loud. You have built a life, a mind, a whole inner world, and you've wired the light switch to it into someone else's house. They flip it whenever they want, often without knowing, sometimes without caring. The needier you are, the more switches you've installed, and the more people are walking around able to turn your lights on and off at will. This is why the person who needs the relationship least always controls it. Watch any couple, any friendship, any negotiation. The one who could walk away holds all the power. The one who can't is quietly begging, even in silence. It's not about love, it's about need. Need is the leash. And most people spend their entire lives on one, handed to whoever they were most afraid to lose. And here's how you know it's already happening to you, even now. You rehearse conversations before they happen, editing what you'll say to get the right reaction. You reread your own messages after sending them, anxious about how they landed. You change your opinion slightly depending on who's in the room. You feel a small hit of relief when someone finally approves, and a small drop when they don't. None of that is love, and none of it is connection. It's a nervous system that has outsourced its own stability to other people's faces and is scanning them all day long for permission to feel okay. You've been doing it so long it feels like your personality. It isn't. It's a leash you've worn so long you forgot it's not your skin. Jung had a precise way of putting it. Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, love is lacking. But underneath that is something sharper. Most of what we call love is actually need wearing love's face, and need is a form of bondage. You don't feel free with the people you need most. You feel anxious, because a leash doesn't feel like love. It feels like fear. So here's your first tool, and it's a diagnostic that will sting. Pick the person whose non-response can ruin your day. You already know who it is. Now ask one honest question. If they withdrew tomorrow, would I lose a companion, or would I lose my sense of being okay? If it's the first, that's connection. If it's the second, that's a leash, and you're holding the wrong end of it. But here's what you need to understand before you can ever cut it. You didn't choose this leash as an adult. It was wired into you long before you could speak. And until you see where it came from, you'll keep handing the remote to new people for the rest of your life. No baby is born needing approval. It's installed. And understanding how is the difference between fighting the symptom forever and pulling out the root. When you were small, you were completely dependent, and you learned fast that love, safety, and belonging were conditional. Be good, and you get warmth. Be quiet, be pleasing, be what they wanted, and you stay connected. Cause a problem, and the warmth withdraws. You were a brilliant little survival machine, and you learned the lesson perfectly. My okayness comes from out there, from their reaction to me. That wasn't a flaw. At age 4, it was true. Your survival literally depended on their approval. The problem is that the machine never got the update. You're not 4 anymore. Your survival no longer depends on anyone's approval, but the wiring still thinks it does. So every time a boss frowns, a partner goes cold, a stranger disapproves, that same 4-year-old fires the same alarm. I'm in danger, I've lost the connection, I'm not okay. You feel it as a grown adult, but it's a child's terror running on old code. Jung called this the wound we spend our lives circling. Somewhere in you there's a hole, a place that didn't get enough of something, enough love, enough seeing, enough safety. And here's what almost nobody realizes. You have spent your entire adult life trying to fill that specific hole with other people. The partner who will finally make you feel worthy. The success that will finally make them proud. The approval that will finally silence the doubt. You're not chasing those people or those things. You're chasing the feeling of a wound being filled. And you're hiring strangers to do a job only you can do. This is why it never works. No matter who you find, you get the approval, and the relief lasts a day, and then the hole reopens, because the hole was never about them. Think about it. You've gotten the thing you were sure would fix it, the relationship, the win, the praise, and the emptiness came back anyway, didn't it? It always does, because you were pouring water into a cup with no bottom, and calling the people who poured the ones who complete me. So the second tool is a reframe you have to actually feel, not just nod at. The next time you feel that desperate pull towards someone's approval, stop and locate it. It's not in your adult mind, it's lower, older, in the chest, in the gut. And say to it silently, that's the old wound talking, not the present moment. I am not 4, and I am not in danger. You're not going to heal it in one breath. But the instant you can see the child instead of being the child, you've taken the first step out of the trap that runs most people until they die. And here's where it gets darker, because this same wound doesn't just make you needy. It quietly poisons the very love you think you're feeling. And that's the illusion Jung spent his life exposing. Here's a sentence that's going to be hard to hear, but stay with me, because it's the key to everything. Most of the time, you're not in love with the person in front of you. You're in love with what you need them to be. Jung had a word for this, and it's the most important psychological concept almost no one knows: projection. Your mind takes the wound, the longing, the ideal image of who could finally make you whole, and it paints that image onto a real human being. You meet someone, and something clicks, and you feel it. This is the one. But what actually happened is that they matched the outline of the painting you were already carrying. You didn't fall in love with them. You fell in love with your projection, hung on their face like a coat on a hook. This is why the perfect person becomes so disappointing later. It's not that they changed, it's that reality slowly wore through the projection, and the actual human underneath, flawed, separate, not built to fill your hole, started showing through. And you felt betrayed, cheated, like they tricked you. They didn't. They were just never the person you invented. You were in a relationship with a figure in your own mind, standing on their body. Now go deeper, because here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. When you need someone to be your source of okayness, you can't actually see them. You can't, because you're too busy scanning them for what you need. Do they approve? Are they pulling away? Did that tone mean something? You're not perceiving a person, you're monitoring a supply line. The neediest lovers are often the least loving, because their attention isn't on the other person at all. It's on their own hole, and whether this person is filling it right now. This is Jung's brutal insight into most human relationships. They aren't meetings between two whole people. They're two wounds trying to use each other as a bandage. Two people who don't feel complete, each hoping the other will complete them, each quietly furious when the other fails. And they call this love. and they can't understand why it curdles into resentment, control, and suffocation. It curdles because need always does. You cannot receive freely from someone you're desperate not to lose. And this is why the relationships people need the most are so often the ones that hurt the most. The more you needed someone to be your source, the more you monitored them, the more their smallest shift in mood became an emergency, the more you shaped yourself to keep them, and the more you resented them for the power you'd handed over. Love that comes from need always eventually feels like a trap to both people because it is one. The needer feels trapped by their own dependence. The needed feels trapped by the weight of being someone's entire supply. Two people slowly suffocating each other, each certain the other is the problem, when the real problem was never the other person at all. It was the need itself, quietly turning what could have been love into a slow, mutual hostage situation neither one knows how to end. So, the third tool. Take the person you think you love most and try something that will feel strange. Look at them as a completely separate being who exists entirely for their own reasons, not for you, not to complete you, not to reassure you, just a whole other person living their own life. Feel how different that is. Most people have never once looked at anyone that way. That look, seeing the person instead of your need, is the beginning of the only kind of love that isn't secretly a demand. But now we arrive at the real thing underneath all of it. Because you might be thinking the fix is just to stop needing people. And that's where almost everyone gets it wrong. Because there's a specific terror hiding under the need, and until you face it, you'll never be free of anyone. Here's the twist this whole video turns on, and it's not comfortable. You think you're afraid of losing people. You're not. You're afraid of what you'd have to sit with if they were gone. You're afraid of being alone with yourself. Look at what you actually do to avoid being alone. The phone that can't stay in your pocket for 4 minutes. The relationships you stay in long after they've died, because empty is worse than bad. The noise you keep running, podcasts, scrolling, other people's voices, anything to avoid the silence where you'd have to meet yourself. This isn't a love of connection, it's a fear of the room you'd be in if the connection stopped. And every needy attachment in your life is, underneath, a strategy to never be in that room. Now here's why that matters, and it's the deepest thing Jung ever pointed at. The reason being alone terrifies you is that somewhere inside, you don't believe you're enough on your own. You need other people around because their attention is proof that you exist, that you matter, that you're okay. Take the people away, and the terrifying question surfaces. If no one is looking at me, am I anything at all? Most people will do anything, stay in any relationship, chase any approval, tolerate any disrespect, rather than face that question. So they never do. They spend 70 years using other people as a mirror, so they never have to find out what's there when the mirror is gone. But here's the trap inside the trap, the reversal that changes everything. As long as you need people to prove you're okay, you will never actually feel okay, because a need that's outsourced can never be satisfied at its source. You're trying to fill an inner emptiness from the outside, and it structurally cannot work, the way you cannot fill a well by describing water. Every person you pull close to avoid the emptiness becomes new evidence at some level that you couldn't handle it alone. The reaching itself keeps the wound open, which means the thing you're most afraid of, being alone with yourself, is the exact thing that would free you. The room you're avoiding is the only room where the healing happens. Jung called it the confrontation with the self, and there's no way around it, only through. You have to go into the silence you've spent your life fleeing and discover, slowly, that you don't dissolve in it, that you're still there when no one's watching, that you can survive your own company. That is the birth of everything. So the fourth tool, and it's the hardest one in this video. Once a day, sit in deliberate silence. No phone, no noise, no distraction, for 10 minutes, and just be alone with yourself. That's it. It will feel unbearable at first. The urge to reach for something will be enormous. That urge is the whole problem, made visible. Every day you sit through it, the terror shrinks, and a strange thing grows in its place, the beginning of a self that doesn't need an audience to exist. And once that self starts to grow, everything changes, including, and this is the part almost no one believes, the exact moment your need dies is the moment your power is born. There's a specific day in a person's life, though it's usually a slow dawn, not a lightning strike, when something fundamental shifts, the day they stop outsourcing their wholeness. Jung had a name for this whole process, the most important word in his entire psychology: individuation, becoming a complete self-contained person, becoming your own source. Here's what it actually feels like from the inside, because it's not what people imagine. It's not that you stop caring about people, it's that you stop needing them to regulate you. The phone doesn't reply and you notice a flicker, and then it passes because your okayness didn't leave the building with that message. Someone disapproves and you feel it, and it doesn't reorganize your entire nervous system because your sense of yourself is no longer stored in their opinion. You've quietly moved your center of gravity from out there to in here. And a person whose center is inside himself cannot be knocked over by what happens outside. This is the difference between a plant with roots and a plant cut for a vase. The needy person is the cut flower. Beautiful, maybe, but drinking from borrowed water, and the moment the supply stops, they wilt. The whole person has roots. They draw from a source inside themselves, so the weather outside, approval, rejection, presence, absence, changes the view but not the survival. You stop being a cut flower begging for water and become something that grows its own. And here's what fills the hole, the thing you spent your whole life hiring other people to do. It turns out the wound was never meant to be filled from the outside at all. It's filled by you, finally turning toward yourself with the attention, the acceptance, the seeing you were always demanding from others. The love you were starving for was a love you were withholding from yourself while begging strangers to provide it. When you finally give it to yourself, not as a slogan, but as a daily practice of self-respect and self-honesty, the hole closes from the inside, and the desperate pull toward other people simply quiets. Not because you killed your heart, because you finally fed it at the only source that was ever going to work. So, the fifth tool is a shift in where you look for permission. For 1 week, every time you catch yourself about to seek someone's approval, reaching for reassurance, fishing for a compliment, explaining yourself to be validated, stop and give yourself the thing you were about to ask them for. Silently approve of your own decision. Reassure yourself. Be your own witness. It will feel hollow at first, like talking to an empty house. Keep doing it. You are laying down roots where there were none, and roots grow in the dark before anything shows above ground. But the strangest thing of all isn't what happens inside you when you stop needing people. It's what happens to the people around you. And it's the exact opposite of what you feared. You've been afraid that if you stop needing people, you'll end up alone. Here's the paradox that runs the entire social world, and once you see it, you'll never chase anyone again. The less you need people, the more they're drawn to you. Think about it from the other side. Who is more attractive? The person who needs your approval, who's anxious about your response, who's a little too available, a little too eager, or the person who's warm but self-contained, who clearly has a full life, who would be completely fine whether you stayed or left. Every human being on earth is drawn to the second one and quietly repelled by the first. Need has a smell, and it pushes people away. Self-sufficiency has a gravity, and it pulls them in. This isn't a trick. It's the oldest law of human attraction there is. Here's the mechanism underneath it. When you need someone, you're taking. Even when you're giving, you're taking. Because every gift has a hook in it, a quiet demand for reassurance in return. People feel the hook, even if they can't name it, and some part of them pulls back. But when you don't need them, your attention becomes a gift with no hook. You can actually see them, be interested in them, enjoy them, because you're not scanning them for your supply anymore. And there is almost nothing more magnetic in this world than a person who can give you their full attention while needing absolutely nothing from you. That is a kind of presence most people encounter only a few times in their lives, and they never forget it. And watch what happens to the specific people who used to hold your leash. The moment you stop needing their approval, your entire posture changes, not into coldness, into calm, and they feel the leash go slack in their hand. Some of them, the ones who only valued the control, will panic and drift away, and you will not miss them because they were feeding on your need, not on you. But the ones who actually cared, they lean in closer because for the first time they're meeting the real you instead of the anxious, performing, please don't leave you. You become someone worth respecting instead of someone to be managed. You stop being chased and start being sought. And notice the cruel irony most people live inside their whole lives. The harder you chase someone, the less they want you. Your very reaching tells them you're not worth having, because if you were, you wouldn't need to grasp. And the more you let go, the more they pursue. Your calm tells them there's something here worth wanting. People spend decades pulling harder on the exact rope that's pushing others away, never realizing that the grip itself is the repellent. The needy man interprets every rejection as, I didn't chase hard enough, and doubles the very thing that caused it. The whole man loosens his grip and watches the world lean in. Same people, same rooms, opposite result, decided entirely by whether there was need in the reaching. So the sixth tool is a quiet experiment. Pick one relationship where you've been the needy one, and for 2 weeks, simply stop reaching. Don't punish, don't withdraw coldly, just stop chasing, stop overgiving, stop seeking the reassurance. Become calm and self-contained, and watch what happens to the gravity between you. 9 times out of 10, the other person moves toward you, confused and intrigued by the change. You will have proven the paradox to yourself. The hand that stops grasping is the hand people finally want to hold. But all of this, the roots, the wholeness, the strange new magnetism, points to one final truth. The thing this entire video has been building toward. Because stop needing anyone sounds like it ends in coldness and isolation, and the real destination is the exact opposite. So let's go back to the promise from the first minute, that the day you stop needing people, they start needing you, and that it makes you free, not cold. Here's the truth underneath it, the thing Jung spent his entire life circling. You think the goal is to not need anyone so that no one can hurt you. That's the beginner's version, and it's still a trap. It's just building a wall instead of a leash, and a walled-off man is as unfree as a leashed one, because he's still organizing his whole life around other people, just in the opposite direction. That's not the destination. The destination is stranger and far more beautiful than that. Here it is. You cannot truly love someone you need. It's impossible, because need contaminates everything. When you need them, every interaction has an agenda. Every gift has a hook. Every moment together carries the low hum of, please don't leave, please keep filling me. That's not love. That's dependency wearing love's clothes, and underneath it there's always fear. But when you no longer need them, when you've become your own source, when your okayness lives inside you, something becomes possible that was never possible before. You can finally see the other person clearly, want their good for their sake and not yours, give without a hook, stay without clinging, and let them be exactly who they are instead of who you needed them to be. For the first time in your life, you can actually love. Not need dressed as love. Love. This is the great reversal, and almost no one understands it. Needing people isn't the same as loving them. It's what stands in the way of loving them. The neediest people are not the most loving. They're the most frightened, and fear cannot love. It can only grasp. Jung understood that you have to become whole before you can truly meet another person, because 2 half people just cling. Only 2 whole people can actually love. The day you stop needing anyone is not the day your heart closes. It's the day it finally opens, because it's the first day it isn't ruled by fear. And that is what individuation really gives you. Not a cold, isolated man who needs no one and feels nothing. That's the caricature. What it gives you is a whole man who can be close to people without drowning in them, who can love without leverage, who can lose someone and grieve deeply and still not lose himself, because he was never stored inside them to begin with. He needs no one, and precisely because of that, he can be fully present with everyone. The leash is gone. The wall never got built. What's left is a free man, standing on his own ground, able for the first time to offer another person the one thing need can never give, a love with no fear in it and no chains. And here is the final proof that it isn't coldness. The man who needs no one is the only man who can afford to be truly generous, with his time, his attention, his love, because he isn't secretly keeping score, isn't quietly waiting to be repaid in reassurance, isn't giving in order to get. The needy man's generosity always has an invoice attached, even if he'd never admit it. The whole man's generosity is free, because he already has what he needs, so everything he gives is surplus, not investment. That's why being around such a person feels so different, so light. You can feel that nothing is being asked of you, that you're being enjoyed rather than used. People spend their whole lives searching for that feeling and calling it love. It is love. It's just the only kind that was ever real. The kind that comes from a full cup instead of an empty one. So, understand what this was really about. It was never about becoming cold or shutting people out or needing nothing and no one like some stone statue of a man. It was about pulling your center of gravity back inside yourself so that other people become a choice instead of a fix, so that you can finally be with them out of fullness instead of hunger. Start with one. Sit in the silence you've been avoiding just once, or catch yourself reaching for someone's approval and give it to yourself instead. Or take the person whose non-reply can wreck your day and quietly begin to take your peace back out of their hands. Just one. And feel that lever, the one they never knew they held, start to loosen. Because the strongest, most magnetic, most genuinely loving person in any room was never the one who needed everyone. It was the one who needed no one and chose them anyway. If this reached something in you, sit with it in silence for a minute before you do anything else. That silence is where it begins.